Hello, I'm Ryan F9 and this is the best body armor for motorcycling. We will see armor suits, exoskeletons, full racing protectors, and neck braces. But the logical place to start is with a replacement pad showdown. 95% of riders won't care to go any further than this. You spend under $100, you keep your comfort level, and you get a nice CE level 2 protector to replace that crappy foamy that came with your jacket. But which to choose? I have a Pro Light K from the body armor specialist at Forcefield, I have an Alpinestars Nucleon, I have a D3O Viper 2, most commonly associated with Icon or Climb, and I have an SAS Tech, usually sold by Scorpion and Scott. Forcefield offers the best protection. All CE level 2 pads transmit less than 9 kilonewtons, but this one is closer to 5. Feels like a light breeze. The Pro Light K is made from 5 layers, each with a different density for a different severity of impact. They also say it has some Kevlar stitched in for abrasion resistance, but that's a gimmick. I mean, there's no way in hell you're going to grind right the way through a back pad, whether there's Kevlar in it or not. Forcefield also talks about RPT, Repeat Performance Technology. Most people think that means you can reuse the Pro Light through multiple crashes, which is true, but that's also true of most viscoelastic pads, so it's hardly special. Where RPT is special is repeat performance within a single crash. The molecular armor rebounds within milliseconds, so if you tumble and bounce and hit the same spot many times in a row, you should be protected for each impact. Comfort-wise, the Pro Light K is not great. It's the heaviest pad here at 420 grams, and it's also the thickest at 22 millimeters. That's about 5 more than anything else on my list. Also, Forcefield says that this thing gets more malleable with your body heat, but I still found it a bit stiff. I'm stiff on my wallet too. It's $89 for most of the 10 different shapes. The second most protective choice is SAS Tech. Now, partially because it has the exact same coverage as the Pro Light, and partially because they poked less holes in it. Feels like a small tickle. I wouldn't buy SAS Tech though. As far as molecular armor goes, it's outdated, neither is comfortable nor as breathable as the competition. You'd be better off spending your $40 on D3O. Same price as the SAS Tech, but way softer and more ventilated. In fact, this is the most comfortable replacement pad on my list by a long shot. And largely thanks to the misnamed Airwave design, which doesn't do that much for airflow, but does do a lot to make the pad hyper malleable. Like burrito level malleable. I choose to ride in this stuff for that reason. Comfort does come at a bit of a cost, however. Ouch. Now, the Viper 2 back pad barely transmits less than the 9 kilonewtons CE level 2 standard. Also, coverage is significantly reduced versus the previous two. Pro tip, you should take an X-Acto to your D3O before installing it. The backside has an ample number of pores, but most of the ventilation holes are left clogged thanks to some imprecision in the manufacturing mold. Also a pro tip, make sure to buy your Viper 2 D3O from Icon rather than Climb. It'll save you $23 just because Climb is Climb. Final pro tip, try not to ride with D3O below 0 degrees Celsius. Now, I found out the hard way that our orange friend here curls up and freezes in the cold. To close with the Alpinestars Nucleon, let me say that it's the airiest choice. Most holes, most ventilation. Also 280 grams, it's the lightest weight. This is a Nucleon KR2i, which is a standard molecular pad. It's pliable under low stress and rock hard under high stress. 7 kilonewtons. Alpinestars also makes the KR1i, which comes with a rigid center plate. Now, personally, I don't think it's worth the loss in bendability just to drop the mean transmitted force by a single kilonewton. This pad is rated as full back, meaning it has the width to cover your shoulder blades. But of all the FB pads we've seen already, it still has the smallest coverage. The Nucleon KR2i costs $70, which is a tad overpriced in my opinion. But Alpinestars sells a bunch of them nonetheless, probably because they refuse to stock their jackets with anything resembling decent back protection. Summary: buy the Pro Light K for the best protection. Buy the D3O Viper 2 for the best comfort. Buy the Alpinestars Nucleon for the lightest and breeziest back protector. And don't buy the SAS Tech at all. One honorable mention would be the new rubber lattice pads, like this Bio Air Protector from Alpinestars or the Dainese Pro Armor G1 and G2. The rubber lattice design allows for a much thinner piece of armor than the viscoelastic pads we just saw. It's great for shoulders and elbows, but in my opinion this design is a little bit stiff for the back. And if I'm gonna go stiff on the back, might as well go all out with this. It's a Forcefield Pro L2K Evo. This is a full race protector, and when I say that, I'm referring to coverage. It's a standard Nitrex-based back pad like the Pro Light K we saw earlier, plus extra to the base of the neck, plus extra to each kidney, plus extra down to the tailbone. A protector this large needs a full harness to keep it in place. Now 2 elastic straps and a waist belt, plus 2 tensioners. When it's done right, the protector molds flush with your back, easily fitting under race leathers. Force field pretty much always offers the best protection. In this case, we're transmitting around 4.8 kilonewtons. It is possible to do one better with the Force Field Pro Sub 4, which brings that number down to 3.4 kilonewtons and is also lighter. But I didn't choose the Sub 4 because it's almost twice as thick. In my experience, that can be a bit of a pain in the ass to fit under leathers, whereas the L2K isn't. Also, the mere 1.4 kilonewtons that I've lost isn't really enough to keep me up at night, especially when my head is resting on the $50 I've saved by choosing the L2K. Sizing is done by torso length, and if you actually measure yours, there's no reason why you shouldn't nail it. And everyone who buys the wrong size in one of these was just too lazy to find a soft tape measure. Guaranteed. And yes, there is a chest protector too. They call it the Elite, and this harness here is removable, so if your leathers are properly tight, you don't need the harness. You just tuck it in and zip it up like the MotoGP riders do. And you can also buy all that stuff together, plus CE Level 2 shoulder protectors with the EXK Harness Flight Plus. I probably wouldn't do that though, since the back and chest armor here transmits slightly more force than the individual protectors do. Also, you're not really saving anything, since at $419 this costs exactly the same as the sum of its parts. At this point, someone will undoubtedly ask about the Icon Striker vest. So here's my take. This thing is popular because it looks good and costs $189, but all you're really paying for is this piece. Everything over the kidneys is just cosmetic, same with the entire front. Yes, there's a plastic chest plate, but it's only half as big as it actually looks. Now, plus it isn't backed up with a shock absorber and is essentially useless. The back protector is backed up with D3O, but that's also more bark than bite. Its highest point doesn't reach the base of the neck, its lowest point doesn't reach the tailbone. These rivets all have a knack for popping out, and the dragon scale design here doesn't actually inhibit movement in the wrong direction. Trust me, I've crash tested a striker rig and it did not fare well. Actual science says the back protector transmits around 17.5 kilonewtons, which is way too shitty for CE Level 2 and only barely good enough for CE Level 1. But I don't blame Icon. I mean, they make helmets and pants and jackets and gloves and boots and wallets and bandanas. It's a lot on their plate. By comparison, Force Field only does armor, so they do it the best. Also, they just dropped their pricing in Canada, so I wouldn't even save that much by going off-brand. And finally, if you want a neck brace, I would go with Liat. I mean, nobody has much experience building these for road motorcycles, but Liat braces the crown in the motocross world, so they have lots of transferable knowledge. These work on top of most jackets and with most helmets because the function is so simple. Limited movement, limited movement, limited movement, limited movement, limited movement. I think the protection from hypertranslation, that straight backwards force on your head, is a little bit weak. This upward curve is supposed to catch the helmet when it's pushed straight back, but it seems like a very small margin where that would actually work. Anyway, wear this as high on your shoulders as is comfortable, and hopefully your helmet will hit it in a crash. And that way the force bypasses your neck and goes into your body instead. It is very possible that you'll end up with a nasty bruise all around here from the brace, but that means it worked. You only have 2 model options, the STX Road and the STX RR. All adventure and street motorcyclists will want the former, even if you have a speed hump. The RR just adds the foldable front wings, which is a little bit more comfy for riding in a full tuck position. Also, it shaves 90 grams with its full carbon chassis, which brings the total weight down to about 700. It's probably worth the extra $200 if you're a racer. Otherwise, $450 for the regular STX Road is plenty. And that's it for my favorite body armor. Thanks for watching.